Hey everyone, it's Moises Mendoza with SE Studios, and we are back with another episode of Local Lens. Today, I am very excited to introduce CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, Stacie Rohn. Stacie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Moy. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me in.
I appreciate you coming on. Boys and Girls Club has been something that's been very close to my heart growing up here in this area, eighth grade and onward. So I'm really excited to have you on here and kind of talk about it.
Well, and it's always exciting to talk to a club kid and
Yes.
get their perspective of what it was like when they were growing up as a kid, and then to keep sharing what we're doing today.
Yeah, and I can say the Boys and Girls Club has definitely made a big impact in my life, and part of the reason why I'm even here today. I would strive to say that.
Well, I'm excited whenever I see a club alumni get out in the community and really make a difference, both professionally and personally. And the way that you give back to the club and other community organizations is just amazing. So thank you for everything you do in our community.
Absolutely, yeah. I always say you're only going to grow as big as you support your community, and I think it's something that's really important. So, talk to me about your role at the Boys and Girls Club and some history behind that.
Sure. So CEO. Um, I know I never thought that that would be, my end game here. But I joined Boys and Girls Clubs in 1996, and I was more or less a volunteer. I joined a board of directors. I was working in another nonprofit in Maryland, writing grants. And one of my friends who was on the founding board for Berkeley Springs, the club when we opened there, said, "Hey, can you help us with a grant? We're looking to open a club site in Berkeley Springs." And I said, "Sure, let's do this." So that started in '96, and it's kind of led me down a path through working with all the Boys and Girls Clubs here in the Panhandle until now. We have merged all three Boys and Girls Clubs,
Oh,
Jefferson, Berkeley, and Morgan, into one organization. So we are the Boys and Girls Club of the Eastern Panhandle.
that is incredible, and I didn't even realize that you guys had done a big merge like that. So, I guess it's more resources all under one roof, right?
It's what it's done is it's really streamlined our operations.
Mm-hmm.
We've really focused on how can we maximize our efforts collectively, and take the best out of each county, and share best practices. So that helps to increase the quality of programming, and then also how do we collectively buy? I mean, there's purchasing power when you're buying for three different sites as opposed to just one. So there was a lot of work that we could do. We were able to bring in someone to manage our HR
Oh
operations,
wow.
which was fantastic because
Yeah.
that can be when you're working with a staff that escalates from 15 or 20 to over 75 or 80 in a year's time. It's really important to have processes and procedures in place and an HR team that really focuses on that. And then we also created some space for our operations director to really focus a lot of time on grant writing and grant management. It's great to get grants. Everyone says, "Oh, let's write a grant." And that's fantastic. But then you have to manage it. You have to do what you say you're going to
Yeah.
do, and make sure that you're following the letter of the law because ethics is really important. If we teach it to our kids, we have to practice it every day too.
Well, and I think that's a very important part too. Is as a nonprofit, you really have to make sure you're doing what you say you're going to do because the community is looking at you. If I think a lot of people think this way. If they're going to give you money, they want to make sure they see that money being used. And sometimes you can see it in front of your own eyes, but there's other times that you just need to let people know, hey, this is what's going on in the background. We promise you, your money is being good spent well.
Absolutely, and I think every time you know, and especially when we're in the media and people say, "Hey, we saw you're getting all this money." Well, there's a lot of work that goes behind making sure that you're spending that money in the way that you're supposed to. So, it is. I mean, it's nice, it's exciting, but also with additional resources, it means additional growth.
Yep.
And that's important. We want to make sure that we're impacting as many young people in the community as we can.
Yeah, and I know in terms of from what I've seen, you want a majority of the dollars to go to the programs for these kids and not other things that aren't as important.
Absolutely. And I think we can tie everything back to what is the value of a membership to a child.
Hmm.
We focus our efforts in ensuring that families are not paying a lot. So we charge $15 a month per child, and then also offer a sliding scale. So if there's a family that has many, many children, and that creates a larger outlay of resources, then we work with them on a scale that's affordable for them. But that's not what it costs to actually run the club. We ran numbers post COVID, and they have escalated quite a bit. It's about $3,200 per kid to provide that program for
Wow.
the year. So, when we're looking at how much does it cost for one child for 1 year, and we're looking at that $3,200, how do we take care of ensuring that child's funded? And part of that comes from grants and foundations,
Hmm.
and then a lot of it is really, how does the community support the efforts? When we look at what's happening with young people, um, our goal is that they come to the Boys and Girls Club, they get academic support, they learn how to interact and engage with their peers, with adults, with mentors, and that they're on a path to lead them to graduation with a plan for their future.
Hmm.
That's the trajectory that we want our kids to be on.
And I think that's one of the big impacts. I think a lot of people have boys and girls clubs in their area, but they don't maybe not necessarily know what they do. So do you kind of want to talk a little bit more about what goes on and what they can actually get from the programs?
Sure. So when a young person walks through the front doors of the club, I always say, they're not coming for the art supplies or the basketball. They're coming for their person
Yes.
that teaches them how to use the art supplies or to play ball
Hmm.
or really, and sometimes it's just, how do you get along with the people that you are engaging with in the after school?
Hmm.
What's that look like with your peers? So I think those life lessons are really important. And then essential skills as they get older, like, how do I sit down and write a resume? And what if I don't have any job experience? What does a resume look like?
Hmm.
So, helping young people focus in on what are the things that they're doing, maybe voluntarily or at home, and how do we translate that into, what does your resume look like? And then how do you talk to adults? And then once you get a job, how do you keep a job? What are the things that you need to do that make you a marketable employee, that someone says, yeah, they've been trained well and they understand what it's like to be on time, and how it works to be respectful. And I tell kids a lot of times, you don't have to be friends, but you do have to be friendly,
Yes.
and that can go a long way.
Yeah. I'm a first generation college student, and when I was trying to figure out how to get through high school and do those things so I can get to college, the Boys and Girls Club was a huge help with that, because not that my parents didn't want to, but my mom worked 3 jobs and she just didn't really understand how to do any of that stuff. So the Boys and Girls Club was definitely like a huge part in allowing me to be successful in life.
That makes me feel so good, and I know some of those people are still there. It's really exciting when we can watch some of our kids grow up, walk across the stage, and then come back and say, will you be there on my graduation day, or Miss Stacie, I bought my first house. Um, I I think about kids like Ellis Lambert,
Yeah.
who does music recording, and he bought his first house down in North
Yep.
Carolina. And when they come back home and say, "Hey, I did this. I'm doing this," it's exciting to follow everyone's path, and the fact that they still include you in their journey is that's pretty spectacular.
And I think it's a testament to how much it played an impact in their life. And ideally, we want all of you alumni to come back, do a testimonial, do something to show what the club has done for you.
Absolutely. I mean, once a club kid, always a club kid. You will
Yes.
always have a home at Boys and Girls Club to come back to.
Awesome. So, can you tell me about any current initiatives that you have going on right now?
Well, I think the big initiative for the next 15 days, so March 1st through the 15th, is our Unity campaign. And the Unity campaign is one that encourages many United Way agencies to go out and tell their story to the community and bring in some local support. And the beauty in the Unity campaign is that um, that the United Way has been able to connect with a donor who is matching some of those resources. So, it's amazing when we can work with our local funders and
Mhm.
our local donors to support us and then encourage them by telling them, there's a donor who's matching a portion of your resources that you're donating to the club.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, if you think about it, like I'll go out and go to a dinner one night or something and spend $50, $100, where I could just take that money, not go out one night and just donate where I know it's going to be matched and it's going to make an
Mhm.
impact in someone's life. So I think that's kind of the way that people need to think about it.
Absolutely. And that's really something that um, we encourage our entire community to whether it's a small dollar amount or a large dollar amount, we're grateful for every gift. And I think that's important to help build that community collaboration to help lift up kids.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to be sitting where we are.
Yep, exactly. We want them to follow suit and do the same exact thing we are.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So there's some noticeable names that since I've been kind of helping out with the boys and girls that I've seen, Vicky Bullitt being one of them. Can you kind of talk to me about her involvement in everything?
Oh, Vicky's wonderful. She came back to the community. Um, it was, I guess we were pre-COVID maybe, or like right towards the beginning of it. And she said, Stace, I want to come back home. And she worked with us in the club for a little while. And I kind of knew that wasn't going to last forever because everybody wants Vicky to be part of their organization, and she does such phenomenal work. But she stays close to us and connected, and comes in and she'll teach basketball for our kids. But more than that, she is a presence.
Hmm.
So whenever you hear her voice in the building, I immediately smile because
Hmm.
I'm like, Vic's in the
Yep.
place. And I think the kids, it's interesting to see kids today compared to like kids your age
Hmm.
that, when Vicky would come back to the clubs, it was like, hey, Vicky Bullett's here, Vicky Bullett's here. This generation doesn't know her as well. So, it's fun teaching them who she is and how important she is to our community and really to the history of the club.
Yeah.
When she first started coming to the club, her brothers came,
Yeah.
and it was the boys club.
Yeah.
So Vicky would throw on a hat, and her brothers would bring her in. And I think at that time, Jack Beavers and Mike Allen were the first directors at the club, and they'd allow her to come, and she definitely held her own. Didn't didn't really have too many worries about any boys beating up on her or anything like that. They were, everybody was always like, yeah, Vicky's here to play, and boy does she play.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. She wouldn't have got to where she did without it.
Yeah, so so having her back in the community, what a blessing. I mean,
Hmm.
our kids are better for it because she's so authentic and real, and
Yeah.
that's what I love about Vicky.
Yeah. What you see is definitely what you get, and she's
Hmm.
just always willing to help anybody with a smile, which is
Yeah,
something that I think is contagious when you're
absolutely.
around it. So sounds like we need to get Vicky a TikTok so that these younger folks can know about her. So I'll talk to her about that and see if we can do something.
That would be awesome.
So day by day during the week and probably the weekends too, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club. Do you have anything else on the weekend that you kind of partake in or do?
Well, I spend a whole lot of time at weddings and parties. My husband is a wedding disc jockey, so Rick Roan Disc Jockey Productions. We spend a lot of time celebrating some of the best days of people's lives, and I think that's kind of been a testament to our ability not to to kill each other. I don't want to say it, that's horrible. No, I think that's been a testament to us being able to have fun through the years and get to share some of the best days with a lot of people in the community. So it's it's additional work, but it's also something that allows me to make new friends. And it truly is a partnership. I mean, if we're out meeting with couples, he'll say, well, and this is what my wife does through the week,
Hmm.
and then we work together on the weekends.
And I've done many weddings with you guys, and I always have a good time.
Well, I always tease him and say, well, if I wouldn't have married you, I probably would have hired you. No, he is a great guy and likes to ensure that all the details are put together. And I think as a CEO, I've learned a lot from him because of that attention to detail and trying to make sure that number one, everybody feels valued and that they're having a good time and that they have an opinion about how things should work.
Mm-hmm.
When it's a bride and groom, it's their day, it's their best
Most
day.
important day of their lives.
Yeah, it's we. When we meet with a bride and groom, he always says that he's the advisor to two presidents. So really, it's just trying to get that consensus and make sure that everything goes the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I try to lead that in the club. We have a really strong team of management professionals and even program staff. Everybody gets to have a voice in how things work. And in addition to the staff, the kids too. I mean, when a kid comes through the club, they vote with their feet. And if they're not coming in, something's not right.
Yeah.
Something is amiss. So giving them the opportunity to say, this is what I want to do, that's going to help to ensure that their feet do walk through the doors every day.
Yeah. That's incredible. So one of the things that I've noticed is that while you do large for the Boys and Girls Club, you also advocate and do a lot of community involvement and other things. So can you kind of talk to me about that and why that's important?
Sure. I mean, I think that I grew up here. This is my home. So I've had the good fortune, really, to see how all of our different nonprofits and
Mm-hmm.
businesses, how we interconnect to make something good for others. Um, I speak a lot about what happens with young people, but, when it's a seniors issue, that's every bit as important
Mm-hmm.
as, to a senior or to their family as a child's issues might be to me. So I recognize that, you know, that we all have a place in this community, and it's really important that, we're cheering each other on. Some days it's a hard job. So when you're going in to that moment where it's a real big struggle or a challenge, knowing that I have other nonprofit friends or community leaders who are there saying, it might be hard now, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's kind of the blessing in our community is that for the most part I've always felt supported, um, and on those rare occasions where I haven't really felt supported, they just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's okay. It's my job to help encourage and teach and let people understand better what we do. And what a perfect opportunity here to kind of share that story.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the biggest struggles with nonprofits is awareness. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of noise out there on social media with content and just in the digital landscape. So getting your message across, I think, is extremely important for people to realize what impact you're having in the community.
Right. And until you walk a day in somebody's shoes, you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might have all of these preconceived notions about what somebody's world looks like until you really get to spend a day in it and walk it.
Yeah.
And when you get to walk the walk, then, you can see that, there are a lot of complexities to running a business or running a nonprofit that the general public doesn't always know.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely challenging, but when you do those events or you see those kids, it makes every single thing worth it. All the stress, all the hard work, all of it
oh,
just worth it.
for sure, for sure. And having a young person that has really had a rough day at school to come in and say, it was hard today, and to be able to tell them, I'm glad you're here, and let's try to make the rest of it better.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's key. Helping young people learn to be resilient because we surely have to do it as adults. So the sooner you learn those skills and you figure that out, how impactful is that for a young person to be able to navigate, life's ups and downs.
Yeah, and I think some adults will actually learn a lot from spending time with those children because, if we have a bad day, we might say, oh, the rest of the day is going to be terrible. But we could take that same exact mindset and say, you know what, this happened, but I'm not going to let it impact the rest of my day.
Sure, sure. And that, I mean, that's, we like to create opportunities where people can come in and volunteer or come to a lunch and learn and figure out what our messaging is. And that's something that we certainly invite people to come and visit with us and take a tour and learn about some of our future plans too. Uh, we're not just we're not just where we were years ago. I feel like we have propelled ourselves forward in programming. I know, back in the day, it was more of a sports oriented organization and a place to hang out. And there are pieces of that that are so needed and so necessary. But we also recognize that some of our alumni really needed educational skills to graduate, especially if they were going to play, at a division, in a Division One sports, or
Hmm.
if they were looking to get scholarships, they needed to be able to graduate
Hmm.
and play and be academically eligible so that they could play. So that I think that's when we really focused on how do we support educational endeavors and how do we get into the schools and what does that look like as we're helping young people more out in the community. So that's been something that I've noticed that's changed over the years.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, as long as you've been at the Boys and Girls Club in your position, can you talk about any challenges or triumphs that you've had in your position?
You know, every challenge leads us to find the right solution.
Hmm.
You know, HR is always hard. That's definitely not my strength. I like to I like to build people up,
Hmm.
and make sure that children are encouraged and they have a space that they feel safe and accepted. And sometimes there are other things that take precedence over that. Ensuring that we have the right staff team and
Yeah.
ensuring that we are creating the safest space for young people, and recognizing too that our community keeps changing, especially with more and more people as they come in. Some of our health crisis situations, like the opioid epidemic, um, we're not through that yet. I mean, we still that still impacts some of our families. So how do we help them? How do we train our staff to be able to do that? And for a long time, it was, the club was historically run by, one or maybe two people, and they were managing all of those administrative
Wow.
challenges. So that was probably the greatest challenge was, trying to figure out how do I stretch myself to do all of the jobs. And thankfully, as we've grown, the board has recognized, and some of our funders have recognized that there is no way that one person or two people can manage all that happens within the day of a club.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, that would be overwhelming, and you couldn't give as much as you would want to certain areas because you're stretched so far out.
Sure, and that's you know I as I've gotten older, I've learned there's only so many things that I can do in a day, and I will do my best
Yeah.
to do as many of them. But I also recognize that at the end of the day, the rest will still be there tomorrow. So,
Yeah. So, if somebody in the community wants to get involved, whether that's committing time, donating money, how do they get to that?
probably the best spot to step into is to go to our website, and that's bgcepwv.net.
Hmm.
So log into our website because that will show you how to register your child because we always want
Hmm.
young people to walk through the doors. The other thing is there's a volunteer portal or employment portal. We're always looking for the right employees and not just the when I say the right employee, I mean somebody who makes a commitment to a child that's long lasting. We always, we watch our kids, and sometimes their family members are in and out of their lives, so they're used to people coming and going. We would we would love to see staff that are committed and are with us all the time.
Hmm.
That's important. I know in this job market, there are opportunities in other places. So, trying to create that affordable wage has been a bit of a challenge to
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
Uh, but finding the right people, I think, it's just mission critical for our
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Um, and then we also have volunteer opportunities. So all of our contact information is on our website to be able to do that. But another thing, Moy, is to be able to look at activity that's happening in the club.
Mm.
We try to keep a very robust listing of activities and posts on social media that
Hmm.
show pictures and videos and things in action. And so Facebook and Instagram are typically our two. We probably need a TikTok at the club too.
I'm too old for TikTok, but I got some young employees that can probably help with that.
Cool, cool. Actually, the kids can too, but
Oh yeah, they're probably better than all of us.
we
at it,
just
to
have
be
to make
honest.
sure that it's content appropriate.
Yes, for sure. So, what are the future plans? What do the next 5 years look like?
So we are at the beginning stages of a capital campaign, and the plan is growth. Really, the building in Martinsburg is a circa 1912 building, so it has some pretty strong bones. It's solid brick and block. However, it really needs to be upgraded. And the building is a little bit flipped in the sense that the gymnasium is on the top floor and all the quiet stuff happens in the lower levels. So, what we'd really love is to have a full size gymnasium that is not in our building but yet connected to our building.
That would be really nice.
Yeah, so there's a plan to almost double our footprint in our space. We have some land in the back of our building and off to the side a little bit. So the goal is to add a gymnasium, turn the whole downstairs level, turn that into a teen-only center or space, so that teenagers don't have to share with their younger
They have a
siblings,
safe space for themselves.
and they have their own space that's not invaded by young people, and then creating a dining room, dining hall that's separate and new, and then adding an elevator. That building, it's been great for us,
Yeah.
but we also recognize not everybody can access it.
No. Yeah.
So putting an elevator in, we've partnered a lot with the city of Martinsburg. Um, if Congress is successful in passing a budget here in the next couple weeks, we do have an appropriation for $2 million that's on the table. We also have some donors who have stepped to the table and said, we really want to see you all to grow your programs, to make a deeper impact in our community. So that's still another piece. This campaign really looks at three parts. It's increasing our facility or our footprint in a spatial sense, and then building our programming, because you add more space, you need more qualified staff, and then also the programming changes up a little bit, and then that third piece is something that we haven't done very well yet, but I'm hopeful that we will, and that's building endowment. We don't want to wake up one day and say, "Oh, this was a really rough year,"
Yeah.
without having some safety net there that we can say, well, we have some endowment funds that we're able to pull in a thoughtful way. I mean, definitely putting in procedures in place that we're doing this in a very thoughtful way to increase our capital, but also, if we have a year where we lose a grant, then we have some resources to pull from.
That's incredible. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of good future plans, and I'm excited to continue see and be a part of that journey as well.
Well, and we're excited. We're definitely excited for the here and now, because there are a lot of young people that, like I said, someday they're going to be sitting where we are. There are a couple little guys in there that I have no doubt they're going to take my job, and someday I want to retire.
Yeah,
so
that's a
that
good
would be
and that's a
good.
good thing, everyone. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I know SC Studios personally, we're going to make a $500 donation for the campaign, and we hope that gets matched, and we know it will. And then if we are able to get this to over 500 shares, we'll do another 250 in there. So people, please share, please spread it far and wide, because we really want to get this message out.
And the Unity campaign is on our Facebook page. So there's access there. There's a QR code. So there's a really easy way to donate to the Unity campaign, and that's by texting Unity 2081 to 71777. Or if you go to our Facebook page, we also have a QR code. There's the text to give mode, and then also a link that'll directly take you to the Unity campaign.
That's awesome. We'll make sure to link it in the comments as well so that people can find it easily.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, everybody, thank you so much.
This has been great, and we really have enjoyed our partnership with you and watching your company grow. And Onward and upward, my friend. You're
I
doing great work.
I appreciate that. It's important to give back to the community. So any little thing that we can do, we're always trying to do it. So
Thank you.
awesome. Everyone have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.